everyone, and welcome to The Balancing Act. I'm Olga Villaverde.
And I'm Montel Williams.
Today we're learning more about Langston University, a historically black college and university at the forefront of education.
Plus, just how important lab technicians and pathologists are to our well-being.
That's right, and so much more.
Balancing Act begins right now. Come on.
Yeah, let's do it.
Absolutely.
When it comes to our healthcare, frontline workers like doctors, nurses, physician assistants are more often than not the face of patient care.
But in fact, there's a medical team, specifically pathologists, laboratory professionals, working behind the scenes that are an integral and essential part to the puzzle.
That's true. Without these healthcare professionals, patient care would be probably disrupted, as the laboratory is the foundation upon which our healthcare is built.
Alexandra Brown, Chief Medical Officer at ASCP, American Society for Clinical Pathology, is here to explain. Thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, ma'am. We love having you.
Doctor, lots to discuss here, but I love that intro because it talked about, how patients and healthcare, professionals don't really talk about the laboratory. So is it true that patients don't even realize what goes into their lab work?
Yeah, we're often referred to as the black box.
Right?
Right. And even
Behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes, right. Even other physicians and medical professionals often don't understand everything that's going on within the medical laboratory and all of the work that we're doing to make sure test results are accurate, that the correct tests are being ordered, because laboratory results and the information we generate from the laboratory is something that's almost taken for granted, and it's not something you grow up seeing, like going to the pediatrician or interacting with nurses.
Right, you kind of just hear we're waiting for the pathology report.
Sure, yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's get specific. Tell us exactly what ASCP is.
ASCP, the American Society for Clinical Pathology, like you said, we were founded in 1922. In fact, we're the oldest medical specialty society that represents the entire laboratory. So pathologists, medical laboratory scientists, phlebotomists, all facets of professionals who work within the lab. And we provide them with education, certification, and advocacy efforts. And we also have a very strong patient focus. So we advocate for patients, their access to laboratory testing, and their understanding of laboratory test results.
Quite a legacy you have here.
Absolutely.
And I really want to create the awareness because there's a lot of misconceptions, there's misunderstandings. I can think of a couple right now. Are you doctors? Are there doctors there?
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go. Some people say no. And you only deal with dead bodies.
Yeah, those are definitely two big ones.
A lot of people think that.
Gotcha, like a TV show. Gotcha.
Right?
Sure.
But it's not like that.
Pathologists are physicians. We go to medical school. We do 4 to 6 years after medical school and specialty training, just like a surgeon would do or an internist, et cetera. So we are physicians. And no, autopsy is not all that we do. It's not just dead bodies.
See?
Although that is an important part of pathology.
Of course.
And some pathologists, particularly forensic pathologists, do additional training in order to be medical examiners and do those forensic type evaluations that we're used to seeing on TV. So
are there other misunderstandings that we can maybe clear up right now?
That pathologists aren't involved in direct patient care. That sort of drives me crazy. I hate when people say that. Because when I am holding the surgical specimen in my hands from a woman who's had a mastectomy, let's say, and I'm holding her breast that's been removed in my hands, how much more directive patient care can you get than that? Another misperception is that we work alone, that I'm sitting in my office by myself all day with my beloved microscope and I don't talk to anyone. One of the things that I love about pathology is how much we interact with all of the other medical specialties. My phone is ringing, I'm getting text messages, emails asking about results, asking for clarifications. We go to lots of meetings with all of our physician colleagues to talk about individual patients and their care plans and things like that. And more pathologists are talking directly with patients about their diagnoses. As pathology reports are becoming more available and immediately available to patients through their patient portals, I really enjoy those interactions. But people should have the access to that even if they don't know a pathologist, which most people probably don't. About 70% of medical decision making is based on some sort of laboratory result. So we're working with more ways that we can provide those types of resources and give that availability to all of our patients through things like pathology clinics, where pathologists have set appointments with patients to discuss their pathology reports, online tools. So there are a lot of opportunities where we're growing.
This helps our viewers at least understand how you support the patients directly.
Patients are always front of mind. They're front of mind at ASCP, and they're the front of mind for pathologists and lab professionals. We know that every vial of blood, every biopsy, every specimen that comes from a surgical operation, those are our patients.
And doctor, I wanted to ask you this because since you're talking about diagnosis, and I think you would agree, more and more we're hearing about younger women being diagnosed. Kate Middleton comes to mind right now. The stats, pretty alarming, right?
It is alarming. It is alarming. We have classically thought of cancer as a disease of the older individuals, even maybe the elderly, but the face of cancer doesn't necessarily look like that, and it's very important for not just the medical community to recognize that so we can be better advocates for our patients, but also for patients to recognize that they need to be their own advocates and to really be aware of their bodies and listen to their bodies and look for signs. And even if your healthcare provider says, oh, you're too young for that, which hopefully they're not.
It's probably stress.
Right. So women, we're seeing younger getting colon cancer, and they're saying, oh, well, you're just stressed out because you're doing so much. Listen to your body and advocate for your own health, and you can always seek a second opinion.
Exactly. Even cervical cancer as well.
So we're actually seeing cervical cancer being diagnosed at a more advanced stage in younger women. This is a recent report that's come out. So we really want to make sure that patients are getting screened for cervical cancer, that they have access to all screening modalities, Pap tests, HPV testing, et cetera.
And you not only just provide information to the patients and the doctors, you also support things like clinical trials and other forms of quality care, right? That's on your radar.
Oh, absolutely. So the clinical laboratory and the pathology laboratory, we produce so much data, and those data are used to determine patients who are eligible for not just standard care, but also clinical trials. And one significant example of that I can give is this entity where patients of certain ethnicities, there is a subset of patients that have lower white blood cell counts. So it looks like they might have a reason to not be included in some clinical trials, but the more we can advocate that that is actually normal in this population, and there are laboratory tests that we can use in order to determine that these patients actually have this different type of immunity that's normal for them, they won't get excluded from clinical trials.
And doctor, to show how important the work is that you're doing, we have a patient story. Her life was saved thanks to the laboratory and early detection. It's a winning combination there. Let's take a look.
I can still viscerally feel what it felt like to get that call. I can actually hear my doctor's voice in my head, and I can feel how my body went cold. I'm Danielle Sepulveris, and when I was 24 years old, I was diagnosed with HPV. I was considered high risk with precancerous cells. My first irregular Pap test came about during my regular annual visit, which I didn't think anything of because I had no symptoms or any sort of issues that I was going in for. And after I went in a couple of days later, my doctor called and said that my test had come back irregular. And then I went to get a biopsy, and that confirmed my diagnosis. They did think that I was high risk at a certain point, so they removed the tip of my cervix, which officially is what got rid of the precancerous cells. It's so bizarre that you can feel perfectly fine and something could be going on inside your body without you even knowing. And that's actually really scary when you think about it. I've met so many people now who have dealt with similar situations as me, and they all can say exactly what strain they had or exactly what type of cells. So I feel that it's helpful that everything's gotten so much more specific because everyone is different. Laboratory tests were incredibly important and essential to my journey because without them, I wouldn't have known anything that was going on. Knowing in advance or knowing before something is an issue is how lives get saved. And I think all the time about how differently it could have gone for me. I feel the lab saved my life.
So, doctor, biopsy analysis at its best.
Absolutely. Screening and early diagnosis are the things that patients can most effectively do to advocate for their health.
And in recent times now, there seems to be a lack of really qualified professionals entering all kinds of fields, like from doctors to nurses, PAs, but it's really affecting your community also, correct?
The laboratory has this affecting us even more severely, I think in many ways because we are kind of behind the scenes. So when people say, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up, to children, they've all seen a nurse, they've seen a pediatrician, they've seen pharmacists, but many of them may have seen a pathologist but didn't even know it. And we find a lot of people that go into the medical laboratory specialties or pathology had some sort of experience with a pathologist or in lab professions that drew them into the career. So we're trying to give exposure to more and more people of what a fantastic career it is to work in the medical laboratory, how many patients you can touch every day.
It doesn't matter who you are, what demographic you're from, you need to really start looking at this as a possible career.
Absolutely. You don't have to go to medical school and become a pathologist if that's not what you want to do. Really, any skill level, if you have a high school degree or if you're looking to get a bachelor's degree, master's degree, there are opportunities in the laboratory to be medical laboratory scientists that really can apply to people at any level.
And going back to what you said about getting that biopsy, having that part of that human in front of you and being able hopefully to give good news, very fulfilling.
Absolutely. You know, it's sad when it isn't good news, but you get that information out there and you know that the patient is now armed with the information they need.
Early detection save lives. Thank you so much. For our viewers who'd like more information on any of this, where can they go, doctor?
They can go to our website, ascp.org. We also have a more patient-centered version of the website with lots of materials and more videos like the one you saw today, which is ascp.org/patient-champion. And then, of course, mypathologyreport.ca is a website we do partner with that has a lot of great information about pathology reports and that Ask a Pathologist function if someone wants to reach out with a specific question.
Really wonderful information.
Great stuff.
Thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, yes ma'am. And of course, if you want more information, you can always go to our website, thebalancingactor.com. We're going to take a little break. We'll be back right after this. Thank you again so much for being here. Langston University is dedicated to transforming lives through world-class education and abundant leadership opportunities.
Established as a land-grant institution back in 1897, it has upheld its commitment to serving students globally. And here with more, Langston University President Ruth Ray Jackson. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for being here with us this morning. Look, Langston University, really, its inception stems from the tireless efforts of so many dedicated African Americans who lived in that community fighting for their rights. Since then, it's evolved into this really unbelievable university that it is. Give us a little history. Take us back.
Langston University has an amazing origin story. Founded in the historic town of Langston, Oklahoma, which was an all-black town, the citizens decided they needed an educational opportunity for their children. So they petitioned the governor of the Oklahoma Territory. Important to know, this was before Oklahoma was even a state. And requested this, and through the Morrill Act of 1890, this institution was birthed. And the only catch was the citizens had to purchase the land. And so they did bake sales, held auctions, put their hard-earned money together. And these African Americans back in the 1890s earned enough money to purchase the land, and that was the birth of Langston University, which was originally the Colored Agricultural and Normal University.
And if I could just fill in the blanks, because I love history, Ruth. So that territorial governor was William Renfro, who had vetoed a civil rights bill that would have disregarded segregation, proposed a reform bill establishing the university, and just, wow, the stipulation that they had to purchase the land themselves, picnics, auctions, bake sales were held to raise money, and the land was purchased within a year. Can you imagine what perseverance that is? I just get goosebumps because I just love hearing those things. One thing I do want to clarify is that this obviously is a historically black institution, but it serves everyone, correct?
HBCUs serve all students from all walks of life.
That's all HBCUs, not just this one, all of them across the country. A lot of people don't know that.
Which is important.
Absolutely, open to everyone. Our student population is about 50% from Oklahoma and 50% from other states. We have 13 countries represented. And so when you visit the campus, you'll find students from all walks of life, urban centers, rural communities, all at Langston University as one family.
Isn't it something like, I think you've got the largest percentage of graduates that stay in the community?
Absolutely. That's a fact we're very proud of. When compared to public institutions across our state, we have the highest retention rate of graduates 1 year and 5 years beyond graduation.
And now, how does Langston equip students for success?
So success for us really is rooted in the student experience. We focus on what they learn in the classroom as well as outside of the classroom. So leadership skills, that's really important to our student development process. And then those experiences that reinforce what they learn in the classroom, very often internships or student research.
And I know you're dedicated to advancing agriculture. You're a leader in STEM education, but you offer a lot more.
We have 6 academic schools, over 40 degrees, ranging from teacher education to agriculture, as you mentioned, and a very strong STEM area. We offer everything from an associate's degree to 36 undergraduate degrees, master's degrees, and Oklahoma's first professional doctorate in physical therapy.
Yeah, look, the success of your programs is clearly illuminated by the achievements of some of your illustrious alumni. But now you're a new university president, right? And
Yes.
you're going to take this to another level.
So Dear Langston is responsible for producing leaders in all fields. And so the motto for us is from Langston to the world. A second thing is enter to learn, exit to serve. And that's what our alumni do every day across this country.
And who are some of the alumni that maybe you can share that are, people that we even know?
Sure. We have graduates all over the country and who are leaders in their fields. And that's not new to us. We have former students that include Bessie Coleman, the pilot, as well as local civil rights activists Clara Looper and Ada Scipio Fisher. And perhaps one of our most notable former students is Charlie Wilson.
Oh, good Charlie! Come on now, for sure.
I got to ask you, as a new president coming in, you're beaming. I can see the pride and possibly even the hope for more students to come through this amazing place. I guess your goal and your mission would be?
People describe Langston University as a family, and to have the opportunity to serve as its president, to tell the story, and to continue the mission that was ours from the very beginning, providing quality, access, and affordable opportunities, just like it was back in 1897, to anyone who wants to have a quality education and a springboard into a phenomenal career.
Fantastic.
That's great. My goodness. Well, where can people go if they want to get more information?
For more information, visit langston.edu.
Well, thank you so much for your time. A great place, and from the pictures I'm looking behind you, it just feels very homey and family. And
It's a special place.
Yes. Dear Langston, right?
Dear Langston.
There we go. All right. And if you'd like more information, just go to our website, thebalancingact.com.
There you go. We at Behind the Mystery understand that navigating a rare disease diagnosis can be overwhelming.
That's why we put together a roadmap, a guide titled Navigating Your Rare Disease, Unveiling the Mystery and Inspiring Hope, a compilation of key tips to help you face its challenges.
Take a look at this.
Once you've been diagnosed with a rare disease, it's crucial to find a healthcare professional who specializes in your condition.
There are many steps to consider, such as consulting with a primary care physician and finding a specialty care center.
It's also useful to contact patient advocacy groups, schedule consultations, and seek out referrals.
For more on this tip and explore the rest of the guide, visit us at behindthemystery.com.
And check out our social accounts to join the Behind the Mystery community.
And thanks so much for joining us today.
Remember to head to our Facebook page, like us on Instagram, follow us on X, and visit thebalancingact.com to enter our latest sweepstake or giveaway.
That's right. And make sure you love that family viewer. You stay safe. We'll see you next time.